welcome to the fourth edition of A Million Stories. I am all zened out because I have just come out of my 1.5 hour yoga session, and I'm sitting with Regina from Parc Studio. Hi, Regina.
Hi, Jen. Hello.
We obviously know each other.
Yes.
The reason why I wanted to bring you into A Million Stories is because I've been coming to your studio for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
And what impresses me and what impresses other people, because they talk about it, is that you also have a lot of philosophy during your classes. So I think that's a good place to start.
Okay.
Maybe if you can tell us a little bit about the philosophy behind your practice. To say behind your practice is quite a big statement, but behind your studio.
Okay. Yes. Well, I think the story about the studio is that I've been practicing yoga with two of my teachers, Patrick and Gusta, and I actually started yoga pretty much there like 10 years ago. And then I was at a period in my life where I was looking for lots of answers. And then during all these yoga classes, they would really inspire me and teach me a lot. And they have the philosophy of yoga also embedded in their teachings. So it's called Jnana Yoga and Bhakti Yoga and Hatha Yoga, Vinyasa Flow. What we now also know, they were the ones who actually brought this to Amsterdam. And I've been going to their classes for 10 years, and every time when I went there, their words, and even some of them were just lines, they would just kind of wake me up or inspire me. So it wasn't just a physical practice, but it was also oh, the lights are shining.
Oh, that's nice.
So nice.
I see your face lighting
Yes.
up.
It was the philosophy that also woke me up. And at the same time, I was also starting this coaching study, which I was doing, which is called Atma. And Atma is also called the soul. And there I also recognized a lot of yoga philosophy in that school of teaching, the life coaching teaching. So it was a very recognizing the two together, and then on the mat doing also the physical practice. For me, was a very, very powerful and transforming period in my life.
And what were you doing before you started yoga? Or before you started, because you said you started about 10 years ago.
Yes.
But so that's when you started the practice of yoga.
Yes.
And then what job were you doing at that time or before?
At that time, I was a marketing manager at a big company, bank company, working 4 days a week, and my children were still small. And I think I was at the office working there for 10 years. In the beginning, very ambitious with big plans and stuff like that. And it was the time where I had my children. I really started to ask myself what is really important to me. And the question that was continuously going through my mind was, does this feed my soul? And well, due to circumstances, there was a third reorganization, and I was like, you know what? I kind of had enough. I just want to be with those who inspire me the most. And at that time, were the children. But there were also many other things going on in my life, so I really needed to get my head fixed or straightened. And because I've always been a lot of the physical practice, I was running, I did the marathon, but that was also so physical that I realized I need something else, something different, something that's more in tune.
Connected with your soul.
Yes.
That's what you keep going back to, yeah.
Yes. So that's why when actually I was living here, and my neighbor, she's a yoga teacher, she told me, you want to do some yoga? I'll take you to the best yoga school. And she brought me to this level 3 class of Gusta. This Saturday, I just remember it. And I arrived there, and it was like something awakened. I was like this 12-year-old girl again playing around, and something inside of me was like, oh, this is what I've been looking for all these years.
So was it at that moment you thought, I also want to be a teacher? Or
No, definitely not. No, 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 not at all. I never had the aspiration to be a yoga teacher, especially when I started to do my practice. I realized this was so important to have something for me. Even though after doing all these trainings and coaching and teaching, and I really always told myself I'm not going to teach.
yeah.
So it took 10 years that I finally realized, okay, maybe now is the time to do a teacher training. And I also said, this is for me. So
So to just going back, so you left your job,
yes.
and then what did you do after that?
After that, I started to re-educate myself. I did the coaching, teaching training,
Yes.
and then
So you were mainly just in education. You weren't
Yes.
working again.
no, I went. I started an Ayurvedic, what they call een lichaamsgerichte Ayurvedische therapeut.
Okay.
So, which is focused on massage and nutrition and lifestyle. And that really matched the two
Yeah.
with the life coaching together. So I was actually developing my own practice, my own praktijk, coaching people and counseling people with Ayurvedic help, but also massaging people. So this I was doing for a couple years and
Okay.
taking it easy, but allowing myself to really feel and to develop what I was learning.
And then at the same time, you were spending quite a lot more time with your kids.
Yes, I was spending a lots of time, and because I was doing the coaching program and being with my children, I was learning so much about children. So I decided to also do this, what they call kinder coaching training. And there I learned so much about the development of children, and I realized that for children, the first 7 years, that's the basis of their personality. So I decided to just spend time with the children until they were at least 7. So when my oldest was 9 and my youngest was 7, that's when I decided to work a little bit more out of the house. But from young, so when they were young, I really had the opportunity to stay with them and to watch them grow and develop. And in the meantime, I was doing my practice. And I was working and doing my sessions and coaching sessions and massages.
And did you find it conflicting that that you weren't in that commercial world, maybe earning that commercial salary?
Definitely, especially in the beginning, that was really, really difficult for me to settle in. Because especially even my family was like, whoa, you should never give up the job that you had, because that was like your golden future.
That's your future.
That's success guaranteed. What are you doing? And so suddenly I was in this coaching, life coaching, which was then totally not familiar. Then I started in Ayurveda, which was also kind of weird. And then yoga, standing on my head. I really remember people saying, oh no, she's just a freak. She's just standing on her head and just doing these crazy things. But I felt for me this was the right thing to do. But it was difficult because especially lots of friends and all my social contacts, they changed. I wasn't going out or spending time in the clubs. I was just learning and teaching and practicing. Now it's really funny because now it's 10 years later and all the yoga and all the Ayurveda and all the coaching is just so hip and going on. But I'm happy to have had that time to really feel what works for me. Also with the yoga, doing.
I think that, just quickly going back to that comment before I forget it, because you made quite an important comment there, that your friends and your life changed. And I think that this is what people have a lot of conflict with. They have this desire inside them, but they know that to obey that desire means to change their life.
Exactly.
And it's not just changing a job, it is changing their life.
Changing their life, yes. And for me, it meant that I quit my relationship. That was a really difficult choice, but it was the best for then, because it allowed me to really commit to what's good for me and for my children. I quit my job, and it gave me also the opportunity to do something what was worth for me. And it is very difficult because this society, even though we live here in Amsterdam and everything is free, there's still lots of social pressure of what you should do to be successful. And now teaching yoga is part of being successful, but that wasn't 10 years ago or 20 years ago. It's difficult, but that's also part of the yoga path. That's why you're a warrior, to follow your own beliefs, even though what society or family or friends believe, something you really have to go through and stand for, sometimes for yourself. And that's why in yoga we call it the warriors, because becoming a free person is also fighting or being against all these social demands.
Standing for what you believe in.
Exactly.
Yeah, standing up for your values and answering to your soul.
Yes.
So you mentioned success. Let's talk about that, because you are successful. You have your own studio, which a lot of teachers would love to have. So you have a lot of teachers working in your studio.
Yes.
And I have attended quite a few of those different classes.
Yes.
How do you go about choosing teachers? Because what's interesting is Peter, the chap who was sitting in the class with us, I had a chat with him before the class started. And he was saying, well, a studio is as good as their teacher. So that was very interesting to me, because I totally agree with him.
Yes.
How do you go about choosing your teachers?
Well, first of all, I don't know if I can say I'm a success because I have a studio. The only reason I was able to do this because there are people around me that helped me and gave me the opportunity. And then secondly, it was because after finishing the teacher training, I looked around for a year, and I hadn't been visiting other schools for 10 years, and I kind of freaked out. I was like, oh my God, what's happening in all these classes and teachers? And I decided if I want to teach, I really have to follow my teachers and the way I was taught. And that's not always with chanting or with philosophy. So for me, one of the natural ways was to do it in my own environment. And then how I came up with teachers, that was very intuitively. And I can give you a lovely example. The school of my kids is just 2 blocks from here. And there's one of our teachers now, Gwen. Her daughter was also attending that school, and I knew she was doing a teacher program. And I think it was, now maybe 3 years ago, and I just went up to her and I said, Gwen, one day I'm going to do something with yoga studio and I want you to teach. And she's like, yeah, cool, fine. And we hardly knew each other. And then I think it was 2 years after I called her and I said, yep, time's now. It's right here. Do you want to teach? So she was the first person, which was purely intuitively. And then I had the luck to have this great team of teacher training. So the colleagues with which we did the teacher training, I asked them if they wanted to teach, and they did. And I'm also very lucky because usually the teachers that also teach at Swaha Yoga, they're kind of very committed to their school, and you don't see them teaching a lot to other places. But because we did the teacher training together, yeah, we committed and we helped each other out. And I was really happy and glad that also an Afke and an Annelies and a Lama, and I personally I believe these are the best teachers. And purely intuitively, and because we're so connected, of sharing the same goal, of allowing people, letting people to truly experience the power of yoga, also with the philosophy. Um, I believe that's the power of this studio. It's all these teachers together. And this is the few schools that have a harmonium where you sing, chant the ohms, but also chant other songs and do the philosophy. So they're also happy to be able to do this.
Exactly. So they also want to come to the studio because, I mean, that is the other thing as well is yoga has an interesting reputation. It is a very popular and now quite a common sport. Let's say in the Western society.
Some say it's the new materialism.
Oh well. Yeah, everyone needs a yoga mat. Yeah. But
Which
this
is good.
Yeah, I mean, if it's bringing balance into society, then call it whatever you like. But that is what is special about the studio as well, is that when you come here, you don't feel like you're in a commercial. It doesn't feel like a business. It is a business, but it doesn't feel like you're coming into a business environment where you go to quite a few other studios. It feels quite. It's quite regimented and business-like. It has this business-like feeling about it. Do you deliberately not create that, or is it just evolved because the way you see the studio is an extension of you?
Well, I think it's funny that you mentioned that. It involved because I'm naturally not very commercial, so that's the first place. I truly do things because they feel good. They feel right. I do it intuitively. And yes, then for me to bring in the commercial part, that's also something I'm now learning. Because, of course, there is also a part, and that is the commercial part. However, especially in the beginning, I was really struggling with that part because yoga, and if you look at the sutras of Patanjali, it doesn't.
What is that?
The sutras of Patanjali. Patanjali is, I will say, it's this old guy, long time ago, like a couple of thousand of years ago, who was explaining yoga, the essence of yoga, in just short lines, and he's written them in the book. And according to these lines, we translate what yoga is. So his first sutra is, yoga is the fluctuation, stillening the fluctuations of the mind. And that's, the most neutral but clear way to describe yoga. And in all these lines, he explains how you should act, what you should do or not do, and there it states you should not use more than you need. You should not. You should always investigate your goals or your motives. So, being commercial is something that if you always want more, you want to earn more, it will somehow bring restlessness into your mind. So it's a continuously looking for the nice balance between being commercial and yoga. And like I said, it's not my strongest part, so I do need some help here and there. But at the end, my goal is to be able to let people experience yoga and to do it in a way that everybody can work with it and we can create this.
Well, let's just talk a little bit about the business side, because after all, it is a business. And there are a lot of people out there who are also wanting to start their own businesses and are afraid because they too perhaps aren't commercial, but they have the skill and they want to start the business around the skill.
Yes.
So how do you overcome the fact that you're not commercial?
Well, for me, my advantage is that I have been working in the, how do you call it, the business area for 10 years. And of course, I was a marketing and communications manager. So that part was, for me, easy. And then, of course, you have the financial part and the online stuff like that. I think if I have to give an advice, I believe that's why it's been taking a long time for yoga to be commercial, because the people who really indulge in yoga are from nature not very commercial. Yeah. So this is something really now evolving. I believe the best thing is to organize people around you that can advise you. That's the best tip. And nowadays there's so many online programs, people that can help, people that want to help you in change for some classes. So
in other words, exchanging your core skills, the business that you want to develop, exchange that skill, give it to someone else in exchange for their skill. Yes. So you don't necessarily have to go into partnership with the person, but just give each other skills.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Exactly. So, like, I work with a lot of beautiful girls who are students, and I ask them, or I tell them, if you can't afford it, you can help us. And all those ladies, all the girls, you know who they are. We call them the Karma Yogis. And they help out with the registration. And some of them, they have some business background or marketing background. And they help me out. And in change, they are able to go to classes. So the tip is to ask around and to be honest and fair about what you need, and then you will be amazed by the help you will be able to get.
Well, I think I'm going to leave it there, because that's what this is all about, is sharing.
Yes.
You sharing your story to inspire other people, and they share their story to inspire you, and so we go in a circle and keep going with our stories and growing the happiness, I guess, in the world. So that's why we're here. And I just want to thank you very much.
Well, thank you
for taking the time, and I really enjoyed the class. I really did my best to try and concentrate, and well, not concentrate, actually, to just be.
Yeah.
But thank you.
Yeah, the essence is to be reminded that we are all deeply connected. And like as we end every class, as you know, Loka Samasta, just to be reminded all the actions, but also all the thoughts that we have, they actually do have an effect on each other. And you notice it when you're in class and the mind is calm, the heart is soft. It just feels good.
Thanks, Regina.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. Thanks.
That was lovely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, like candlelight
I know.
interview.